Mm-hmm. Okay, it's 4 o'clock and public comment is closed. The meeting should start shortly. Vicki, they're checking the sharing settings now, okay? Okay, well, they checked the sharing settings. Is there anyone here for public comment that just joined? Please go off mic and verbally let me know if you're here for public comment. Thank you, Vicki.
Where's my glasses? Yes, Adriana, Betty, and Jolanda Julien.
I have you already. I'm looking for other people who recently joined.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so public comment is closed.
Hi, Kathy Fleming.
Hi, Mildred. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I saw Nikia join. We can start now. I have 5 people. We have 5 people for public comment, Nikia.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Vicki, and good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Vicki, if you can go to the next slide, we want to welcome you all to our Superintendent's Budget Advisory Committee on behalf of myself and our Board of Education. Our Board of Education that's featured here that will also be meeting this evening at 7 p.m. for a board meeting. So if you are interested and inclined, please join us. It is a hybrid meeting at 7 p.m. I'm also bringing you greetings, next slide, on behalf of our staff who is here with us in this meeting and who are able to answer questions of members in the chat and otherwise might be co-presenting with us this afternoon. Next slide. I want to remind everyone that this is the Superintendent Budget Advisory Committee, and this committee is a group of folks from different levels and areas of the BUSD community, labor partners, community members, staff who collectively engage in conversations to make recommendations to me as I prepare to present a balanced budget to our Board of Education in June. Next slide. As such, there's only a number of those folks, they know who they are, who are actually voting members. Other folks who are here, we welcome you. We're glad that you're here. But we consider you members of the public or audience, and we'll ask that you only speak during public commenting time, which is coming up shortly, and do not engage in the chat and definitely will not be able to vote. Next slide, please. I just skipped our mission statement. I never do that, but you all know it by heart: to enable and inspire our diverse student body to achieve academic excellence and make positive contributions to the world. And we see that our role here as a budget advisory group is to really think about how we're going to advance and realize that mission, while making sure that our resource allocation is aligned to it, and while we're having some really hard and difficult conversations about budget reductions and balancing. This evening, towards that end, we're going to look at a couple of things. We're going to review our phase 3 proposals, the results of the straw poll. We're going to revisit phase 4 and again, allow our SBAC members to vote to advance or to not advance those. And then we're going to come back and share some information with you all around revenue generators that will actually be helpful for you all as you think about the phase 4 proposals. And then we're going to do some closing moves and next steps. We only have about an hour and a half together. So in the interest of time, we're going to move a little bit more quickly than usual. So I appreciate folks' patience and for folks moving along quickly with us. With that, Ms. Vivian, I'm going to pause and ask for you to go ahead and do the call for public comments, and just let me know how many folks are here for public comments, and then I'll let you know how much to give each person.
So we have 5 people for public comment.
Okay, so 5 people will do 2 minutes each. We'll end exactly at the end of the 5th person at 10 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Vivian.
Okay, so the first person is Heidi Goldstein.
Thank you so much. My name is Heidi Goldstein. I'm the chair of the Personnel Commission. I've been a commissioner there since 2016. Thank you for the opportunity to talk today. I'm aware that in prior meetings, the SBAC has considered the supervisor position for the classified service as an item that possibly should be cut. You did this in your phase 3 discussions. I'd like to give you a little more information about the role and the commission. So first, this position was established because the district uses limited term hiring practices. And in 2010, BCCE, one of our labor partners, received a court writ. They were able to get a court writ because the district wasn't in compliance with the contract stipulations with respect to hiring. Our current executive director, Erin Aranez, took that position in 2013. She's been the only person to hold the position. And she was promoted in December of this past year to be the executive director. She and other commission staff have been working extra time and out of class to actually do the supervisor duties now. We are recruiting for a new supervisor. We've spent approximately $80,000, we estimate, in terms of wages, and that does not count Erin's extra time, backfilling the role that the supervisor does. So what does the supervisor do? They do a lot of things. It's a busy role. They ensure that, amongst other things, BUSD applies limited term hiring consistent with the contract. So far this year, there have been 320 limited term hires between last summer and now. So we have a 4-person FTE department. This supervisor is a 1.0 of that 4.0. And every time there's a termination, a leave of absence, or a hiring request, the supervisor is involved. So that comes to about 15 positions per week on average that our supervisor is working with a hiring manager to determine a labor solution. The
Ms.
supervisor
Goldstein?
also works to perform analysis for new jobs and desk audits for reclass requests.
Okay.
Am I all
Thank
done?
you. Yes, your time is over.
Okay, great. I just want to direct folks to the Personnel Commission webpage where you can get more information.
Thank you. Next for public, you have 2 minutes, is Adriana Betty. Miss Betty?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
So you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Oh my God. Okay, first I'm going to give you some eye candy. Say hi, everybody.
202.
Those are all the kids. I want to
You
let
have
you
an
know.
appointment?
Daniel, can you mute your phone, please?
Okay. This year we served 144 youth. 80% of our youth are on track to meet the A through G requirements by graduation. 86% of our students are on track to graduate prepared or well prepared. Our graduation post-secondary enrollments are 99%. See what I submitted to you guys for the last few years, even during the COVID years. It is understandable that in a time of crisis, cuts have to be made. How do these cuts impact our youth and have experienced extreme traumas? Who can they talk to? Who helps them navigate these obstacles, and who keeps them educationally on track? RISE provides this support on campus and to parents. RISE was started by youth in 1976, BHS Youth. RISE has many great accomplishments and has become a role model program for other programs. BUSD in the June of 2023 began funding RISE. We just enrolled 48 rising ninth graders scheduled to start this summer. A cut to our program will cancel this incoming class. So we really, really rely on this money and thankful for these 2 years of support.
Thank you. The next person is Jerlonda.
Yes. Hello? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes.
Okay, this
So,
is a graduate at Columbia.
so I am a former RISE participant, and I met Miss Betty in the hallway when I was about to take my own life because I was a homeless youth. I was by myself, and I don't know if I did not meet with Miss Betty on that fateful day to take me to Rise free of charge, feed me, and check on me, and make sure that I'm on track to graduate where I would be today. Because of Rise, today I am currently a graduate student at Columbia University, and I still keep in touch with Miss Betty. It doesn't matter where I am, I can always call Miss Betty to talk to her. She's like a parent to me, and this is what RISE is about. This program is not only an after school program, it's home to many of us students that come to Berkeley High, or youth that do not have family. And it will be very sad and a disservice to the youth if you guys cut the budget and the children have to be sent away. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The next person is Itzel Torres.
Vivian,
Yes. Mr. Torres? Itzel Torres. Okay, Francisco Judah. Francisco Judah.
sorry, Vivian, I have those two. Can I share my screen and then their interviews could go on?
No, the documents that you wanted to share are located in the shared drive for the committee, and I'll let them know that's there. But I'm unable to share screens with you. Okay.
Francisco, do you want to do it live and do the same thing you did yesterday? I guess we'll just send the slides to you then.
I have the slides. I put them in the shared drive for the committee
No.
to review.
We have two student interviews that are Google slides that I
Okay.
can send you. I thought we could play them here at the.
Oh no, you can email those to me and I'll share those with the committee.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So are they going to speak?
Francisco, do you feel comfortable saying anything about? I'll send them to you.
Okay, thank you. So
All right.
Paula, did you want to speak? Paula?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I'm the classified PD coordinator for the district. I'm one person that's tasked with coordinating classified PD for all of the staff. And so I know that Samantha Tobias Espinoza is the program manager for the Bear budget. I don't understand why my position is why she's proposing to reduce my position from a 1.0 to a 0.5, especially since the continued funding in the next year's plan is for my position to be funded at a 1.0. And I've also discovered that the bearer funds are being used to fund a position for the Classified Personnel Commission, which is not in the bearer plan. So my question is, why is my position the only funded position in the plan being reduced to a 0.5? Is it because the program manager, Samantha Tobias Espinoza, intends to continue funding for the commission staff, even though the commission has its own budget, which is, I don't know what it is right now, so I'm not going to misquote a number that I don't know. But because the commission has its own budget, the commission should be responsible for its own staff. And I would like for the district to reconsider my layoff notice and rescind my layoff notice, because I believe there's been a misuse of bearer funds. I have asked for clerical support, only to be told that I cannot use bearer funds for classified support for my position for the program that I run for classified PD. So we talk about equity. However, where's the equity in that whole issue right there? Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, did you want to speak? We have 2 more minutes for public speaking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just going to, again, get back on my usual thing of saying we need to get rid of the staffing agency contracts and hire people directly, because I looked up what they actually pay. One of them charges us $57 an hour, another charges us $55 an hour. They pay the people who they actually send out around $25 to $30 an hour. I make $30 an hour. I mean, obviously I get benefits too, but I looked it up on Transparent California, did some math, and even with benefits and everything, it only comes out to around $39 an hour. So they are reaping huge profits off of us while we are in a deficit. And I don't understand why the district is laying off permanent employees instead of just cutting the contracts with these people, with these companies that are just robbing us blind.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Ms. Vivian, and thank you to everyone who came out to public comments. If you can go to the next slide, Ms. Vivian. Again, I hear a lot of public comments, and a lot of people come and then they go. I'm going to remind folks that there are many opportunities for you to stay engaged and informed about what's going on with our budget. We try to be as transparent as possible, and I still hear and understand there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I encourage you to stay to the end of this meeting, but to also check out all the information we have on the website and come to tonight's board's meeting as well, where we give some more updates. Next slide, Ms. Vivian. One of those places you can get information is on our BUSD Business Services webpage that not only has the 24-25 adopted budget, but previous budgets as well. For those of you all who are really like to geek out on budgets, it actually shows you a detailed review of our budget line by line for multiple years. So you can see what we're spending our money on, how much these things are costing, etc. Next slide, please. There's also a number of other ways that you can stay informed and engaged. Again, this evening we have a board meeting at 7 p.m. where staff will give another budget update. We gave a budget update at the last meeting, as well as an update on the March 15th notices, and try to provide clarification to folks who had questions. And I see there's still many questions, so we will continue to clarify. But please come out to tonight's board meeting, and don't just come out for public comments. Please come and stay for the entirety so that you can get the answers to the questions that you have. There's also a new budget web page called the BUSD Budget Business webpage that has a lot of information about not just this committee and the work that we do, but the budget balancing process and the budget development process in BUSD as well. On that same page, you will find a video presentation that we did again to the board about the March 15th notices. Of course, there's an SBAC webpage that has these meetings, both the agendas and the artifacts, as well as the recordings from these meetings. And we try our best to keep our staff informed with regular budget videos, as well as information in our budget, on our staff video, of our staff. Sorry. So please, 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 you guys, one of our core values of resource allocation really focuses on transparency and engagement. We believe in transparency and engagement, but true engagement requires folks to stay informed. It does not just require us telling you, and it really requires you to take advantage of the information that's out there and be active and critical consumers. So hope you stay for the rest of this meeting because we have a lot to talk about. Next slide.
Nikki, you just disappeared.
I know. I don't know why I'm disappearing because I just feel like maybe I'm just feeling like I'm disappearing today, Miss Vivian. Here I am. I'm here. Sorry about that. The next slide, please. As we have these conversations and think about how to move towards our mission statement and keep our 4 E's, we want to be honest about the fact, you all, that we have been honest about this fact the entire time, that we are in some really hard fiscal times, not just Berkeley, but all of the districts in California, some more than others. Every district in our county is having to dip into their reserves and have some really hard conversations. So I appreciate folks' engagement as we do this and really realizing that there are really no solutions. None of this do we want to do, right? But there are going to have to be some hard conversations and trade-offs. Next slide. These are informed by our core values of resource allocation that are here on the left-hand side. And we have a set of strategies that we engage in to move towards our balanced budget on the right-hand side. With that, I'm going to transition to Ms. Pauline. Pauline is going to remind you all of where we've moved and how we've moved towards our target in the previous meetings, phase 1 and phase 2. And then she's going to revisit the straw poll and the results from the straw poll very quickly from phase 3 before bringing you back to our phase 4 proposals. Towards the end of the meeting, we will have a March 15th notice update. And so I do, again, hope that folks will stay for that presentation. Pauline?
Thanks, Anika. Next slide, please. Next slide. Right, so as Anika mentioned, we're approaching our budget balancing solutions in phases, and we've worked closely with you guys in SBAC in terms of looking at phases. So phases 1 and 2, remember, we found $1 million in phase 1 and another 2.7 in phase 2. So at the end of phases 1 and 2, we were at $3.8 million short of the budget solutions. Next slide. Then we did phase 3. That's what you voted on last week. And phase 3, we introduced for the first time the thought of one-time budget balancing solutions. And at the end of phase 3, we still needed $2.1 million. Next slide. And as a reminder, we did a straw poll of phase 3. And while these are pretty hard to read, you can magnify them on your screens. But as a reminder, these were the proposals that were in phase 3 that you voted on. I'm not going to go through each list. We can go to the next slide as well. So it had revenue generators as well. And this was, we revisited something that we brought up earlier when we started meeting. We started looking at if we introduced the idea of fees for transportation. This was actually the field trip fees. This is for, I'm thinking of phase 4. And then we also looked at increasing rents. So that's what you guys voted on the last time. And on the next slide, the straw poll, we can skip to the next slide, Vivian. So the results of straw poll, we had pretty much all our members actually voted. I think we had 15 responses. We do have 20 voting members, so we were missing a few members, but this is a representation of who actually voted on phase 3. Next slide. And we looked at 18 proposals. 18 were approved, and you can see the results of those on the following slides, 20 through 28. 10 proposals were undecided, and SBAC required more information, and those are on slides 29 through 38. Next slide. And also in our survey, we had additional questions at the end. And some of the things that some of the questions that came up, one person wanted additional information on college readiness, affinity programs, preschool and after school programs. There was also a proposal to increase LEARN's enrollment at another tier of pricing. I'm abbreviating. It was a very long proposal. And then we also had someone propose that we use the new discretionary grant to pay for curriculum adoption. And then they also wanted to know what would change with the learns under the new model. But before we go to the next slide, just want to remind everybody that the discretionary grant is not counted as yet. We were told by Alameda County and by school services, who we rely on for fiscal information, that while the governor proposed it in his January budget, there were lots of uncertainties that occurred, including the fires and other events that make it that does not guarantee that we're going to get this grant. I will learn more at the governor's May revise. But even though he told us about this discretionary grant in January, we're not allowed to score it until we get updated information. Next slide. And from phase three actually had two parts. We had the section that impacted the unrestricted general fund, and we had the part that impacted restricted or other funds. For the general fund, the summary on the slides that needed additional information. There was additional information requested for the furlough proposal, college readiness, targeted groups, and the OFI restructure. We're not prepared to actually provide additional information at this meeting, and we're hoping by the next meeting, we had a week, right? So we're hoping by the next meeting to provide additional information on these. Next slide. And then lots more interest, I think, or questions or uncertainty about the restricted general funds or proposals that impacted other funds, including the realigning staffing for enrollment at pre-K, the student admissions specialist, the after-school program, the ECE school admin assistant. There were the two proposals for the after-school program, eliminating coordinators and adding a supervisor was also an area that they wanted additional information on, as well as of all things, the curriculum adoption, which was an added expense that did not impact the general fund. All of these on this slide do not impact the general fund directly, but we are acknowledging that there was a request for additional information about these particular proposals. Next slide.
So, Ms. Vivian, we're going to actually ask you to advance to slide 41 so that Pauline can remind our SBAC members about what was presented by staff in phase 4. Also want to let everyone know that, again, this deck will be posted on our SBAC webpage as well as a recording of this meeting. And there has been a correction since Pauline was just speaking. I noticed there were some slides added. And so just to clarify, the 8 proposals that were approved will be on slides 23 to 30, and the 10 that were undecided will be on slides 31 to 40. Pauline?
Okay, thank you. So this actually shows the 1.1 million that we mentioned earlier after phase 4. The next, and we presented phase 4 at the April 23rd meeting last week. So let's, next slide, Vivian. So phase 4, if you enlarge this, you can see that, remember, we had investment in partnerships. We had a reduction of 2 secondary level counselors, restructure, administrative restructure at the high school, eliminating a program supervisor at SPED, monitoring and tracking supplies, and we also had the introduction of additional revenue. On the next slide, we can see that we revisited transportation charging fees for home to school, as well as charging fees for non-BUSD after school programs. So we had information on this at last week's meeting, but we ran out of time. So we're going to provide additional information for you on these 2 proposals very quickly, because I'm aware that we're in a time crunch. And with those 2 proposals, I think it was Dan who also mentioned, well, we may need additional staffing for if we're implementing the additional transportation fees just to handle the administrative load. And we propose a 0.5 FTE, an additional 0.5 FTE, which is scored here as a negative because it's an expense. We also looked at new expenses, and this was an SDC class. We realized we're going to have to at least hire one staff person for the increased enrollment at our SDC class. And that would mean us hiring a new teacher. Again, that's scored as a negative because that's an expense. And the non-unrestricted general fund proposal, it was a revenue generated. It was scored at $100,000. That amount may change, but that was increasing fees for before and after school program, and that would impact Fund 12 and not the unrestricted general fund. So we can go to the next slide, Vivian. Thank you. So at this point, we're going to have the group look at phase 4. We're going to share, we're going to make sure, take attendance, kind of make sure who's here as voting members. And then we're going to ask Emily to share the phase 4 straw poll with you. And that's with the understanding that, yes, we have to bring back additional information, but we just want to get a temperature check on the things that I just mentioned to see just what are you interested in moving forward and what do you need additional information on. Vicky? Yes, Vicky?
I was just going to ask if you have any additional information before we vote, but I'm assuming the
No.
answer is no.
Right,
Okay.
and we said that, yeah, we said that.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
What we might want to do, Pauline, just in the spirit of Vicky's inquiry, is if we go to slide 49, maybe, sorry, slide 50, maybe a quick refresher, Pauline, around the transportation.
Oh, yeah, right.
Charging, just because
Yeah, the transportation is not the one I have a question about.
Okay. So the
Thanks.
main one is going to be transportation.
Nevertheless.
Right. We also have information about after school fees, but those are the two that popped up in phase 4. So if you want to do a quick summary, Pauline, that might help others
Right.
to vote.
Okay, so these slides would look familiar. I shared them earlier on when we met about transportation. And I know Miss Vicky doesn't have any questions, but so we gave the fact that there was justification for charging transportation. We had a link to the code section that Sheila Collier, who is the transportation manager, shared with us. On the next slide, we actually trued up this information. We updated the UPP estimate. And again, this is information that we got from the prior year. So we looked at the number of general ed students, we backed out the non-elementary, and we backed out a 30% estimate for unduplicated students. And if we charged $1 a day, both ways, right? We're looking at 195,752. That amount was over 200 when we looked at it originally. Next slide. And then when we looked at the cost of the non-Berkeley after-school programs, if we looked at a fee of $1 a day, we're scoring a potential $97,000. Next slide. So again, $1 a day, we trued up what the revenue would be. And if we charge $2 a day, obviously we would get twice as much. But we did talk about an additional 0.5 FTE to coordinate the additional administrative burden. And that's actually scored in phase 4. Rita, yes?
Would there be any potential for offering transportation to those that currently live too close to get transportation as a means of increasing this?
No, not at this point. It would be just the eligible students.
Got it.
So, and we can't, Rebecca, we can charge more. This is just a proposal to do $1 a day. So if there's a proposal to charge $5 a day, we're just saying that would be 5 times as much. So that's a good idea. So that's what this is kind of stating. If we go up by a certain amount, I mean, that's higher than the $1 a day, will obviously generate more. Matt and Beatrice, I think Beatrice had her hand up first and then Matt.
Yeah, my question is that we would be, the district would be charging children who are free and families who are free and reduced in their meals?
No, we're excluding unduplicated students, which free and reduced students fall into that category. That's the 30% that we excluded.
So this is for the 180 days of the school year that you would be, that the families would be charged.
Yes, that's our thinking right now. Beatrice. All right, thank you. Matt, you had a question?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I was late, so I may have missed something. So if I did, that's fine. And you can tell me you already answered it. Are we being asked to vote on, for example, like the secondary counselor piece that was just presented?
We're doing a straw poll on phase 4. All
Yeah, I'm
items
saying,
are
is that
current
part of
phase
it?
4.
I understand this revenue generation part is part of it, but what about the part you just presented?
Yes, all the things in phase 4 are going to be
Okay.
part of it.
So then I have a question. I asked this last week, and I may have just missed it. You know, when someone says 2.0 counselors, that can mean very different things. That's like a job type. But that's not actually like a position in terms of, well, are we talking about there's a 0.6 counselor at the district office? Is there a counselor that serves a specific program? And I don't know how we can vote without the information of the actual detail of even straw poll of what it is we're actually talking about. 2.0 counselor doesn't mean anything unless we have the details about what is actually being proposed. And I have yet to see, or I guess I was expecting to see before a straw poll on this, like what is actually the proposal for that. And there's a couple other ones that are like that too, but this is just the one that stuck out to me.
Thank you for that, Matt, and I appreciate that feedback. We are well aware, and Pauline did say that we were going to come back with information on some items. She did not call that one out in particular. We are running tight with time, you all, in terms of the turnaround for us to bring you back that information. So we are aware that there will be things even in phase 4 that you're going to mark as undecided or unable to vote. And we're fine with that. No, we're going to come back with that information. What we were trying to do is just continue to present things in packages, just as they were shared with you all, to minimize confusion. But we are well aware that there's going to be some things in phase 4 that's going to say undecided, because we know you've asked for more information. So just mark it undecided and know that that information is forthcoming. And thank you for bringing that up so that I could clarify that for everybody. Renee?
I similarly, I think there was something about restructuring at the high school, and I wasn't sure what that was, so I can just mark the appropriate one.
Mark undecided. Yeah, these are the pros and the deltas of us adding extra meetings with such turnaround. But yes, we know that there are some things that we need to come back with much more detail on. And what we hope to do at the next meeting is if there's a phase 5, there's a phase 5. But we do hope that at the next meeting we'll actually have time to not try to vote or straw poll things, but really discuss those things that folks have questions
and maybe
about.
include the impact it would have on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I think, is it Jill who, next slide, Vivian. So I think, Anika, is Jill going to talk about this, or?
Yes, Jill should be here to discuss. This is the after school. I'm sorry, Jessica's here. Well, say hi, Jessica. Sorry, Jessica. Things don't sound very well when there's a choral thing in Zoom or Google Meet. So welcome and hello, Jessica, on behalf of myself and all the members of SBAC. I'll let Jessica introduce herself to you all before sharing, but she'll be here to give the update on after school and before school sliding scale fee. It is a proposal. I want you all to hear it out in detail for the first time. So Jessica, go ahead and introduce yourself and then let's jump in.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Jessica Banduras. I'm the Interim Director of Categorical and Special Projects here at BUSD. I'm honored for the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. I have another revenue generated idea that I'd like to present to you all. Next slide.
Pauline, can you mute, please?
Sorry. So when thinking about the family fee structure for our after school programs, I want to first explain that we have 2 after school programs. We have Berkeley Learns and Berkeley Bears. Our after school programs are multi-funded and funded by ELOP funds, ACES grant, and additional funding from Title I Learning Recovery, block grant, and family fees. The family fees are almost all connected to Berkeley Learns. Next slide. Someone mentioned this already in the transportation, but I just want to echo that students who are under the umbrella designated as unduplicated, the family fees don't apply to them. Okay, so that's English learners, those who are eligible for free and reduced meals, homeless youth, and foster care. So we're not talking about these families. Next slide. When talking about LEARNS, I wanted to show that it is multi-funded. So we have the ACES grant, that's about 40%, parent fees 60%, and also we serve about 1,500 students daily in our program. What does what do the family fees fund? They fund a number of things: program positions, admin support, coaches, the online registration system, supplies and enrichment vendors, and transportation. Next slide. So a couple questions have come up and I wanted to answer those. I just talked about what family fees fund. Again, they're waived for unduplicated. And when's the last time we updated our family fees? They've been the same since 2017, 2018. We have a sliding scale, and it's linked here, and I know the slide deck will be available to you. So the sliding scale, it covers monthly income and how many people are in your household. So for example, if your monthly income is under $2,541 for a family of 2, right now you would pay $55 a month for full enrollment being 5 days a week. Whereas monthly income for families above $8,199 or for a family of 6 would pay $540 a month for full-time enrollment. Next slide. So these are some comparisons. So district fee comparisons. We have Alameda Unified, New Haven Unified, Albany Unified, the JCC here in Berkeley, and then also, of course, BUSD. Next slide. Okay, so summer school. In comparing summer school rates, I just wanted, what I found out through my research and wanted to present to you is that most districts don't provide summer school for any student who is not under the unduplicated designation. So we're unique in that the JCC charges $1,100 for summer school, and we currently charge $720 a month for our summer school program. Next slide. For our after school, I'm going to give you a minute to look at this chart. It varies, right? So we have Alameda at $484 a month, K through 5. We separate charges of kindergarten and TK separately from 1st through 5th. Not everybody does that. So I'm trying to compare as many apples to apples as possible here in this. You can see the higher fees for Alameda and JCC in Berkeley. This is what they're currently charging, Vicki. Next slide. Before school, again, not everybody has that, but you can see the differences in the before school fees. Next slide. All right, so in our feedback gathering, I presented to the PTA Council, got additional feedback from other staff and partners, and this is what came up. So from the PTA Council, they said we should create a higher tier. A lot of our families in BUSD make more than the $8,000 a month, and so have a higher fee and charge more for those families that can afford it. We currently offer a 50% sibling discount, so lowering that was something that they came up with. Charging more for summer school, and then there's also a you can go for the after school program, you can do 2 days, 3 days, 5 days a week. Increasing the difference between the 3 days a week and 5 days a week. And they had another creative idea of renting BUSD classroom space for after school or other private groups that offer after school support. Some other stakeholders provided feedback aligning income levels and a sibling discount. So what that means is for those who make over a certain amount, then apply the sibling discount, lowering it from the 50%, but not just across the board. And then again, doing another tier, but instead of the 20, doing another tier. And so here's what I put together and love your feedback on. Taking the existing family fee structure and adding a 20% increase across the board. That's one idea. And what that would do, if we did that, it would yield a revenue of $618,367. On that draft revised family fee rate, you'll see that increase, but you'll also see another tier of $12,001. And at this moment, I don't know how much that would yield, how much revenue that would yield, because we don't have the information on how many families would qualify for that. But these are just ideas that have been generated, and putting together some cost analysis based on that. And that's it for me. Happy to answer any questions.
We have a couple questions, Jessica. I think Ms. Beatrice, your hand was up. We'll go Beatrice, then Matt, and then Dan. You're up, Ms. Beatrice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So this is just for the ACES and the LEARNS program, correct? Not
correct.
This is just to clarify. And in generating this revenue, it would go to the district to offset other costs?
That's a great question. It would do that and provide an opportunity for expanding the program, as well as also more enrichment classes in the program.
And staffing, because you might be increasing some of the children too. Okay, thank you.
Matt?
Great, thank you. I was hoping that there's a lot of documents that seem like they're links in these presentations, and some of them may be worthwhile to be able to see or click on. So any of those, like this one, can just be put in the shared folder that I think stuff lives in. That would be really helpful, because these are not, I don't even have this PowerPoint yet, but you can't typically click on anything, even though there's lots of good information. The other question Beatrice asked what I was going to ask, but I guess a follow-up to that is that assuming that you use some of this money to do more hiring, that means you can then increase enrollment, which we know there's a need. So then that also then creates a snowball effect, right? Up to a point where you can, you still bring in, does this make sense? Like you hire 2 more teachers, after school teachers, you increase enrollment by whatever it is, 40, they're all paying, right? For the most part, new families that are on the wait list, because if you're an unduplicated student, you're already in, I think. So these would be fully paying people. And then that's even more revenue, right? That then goes to the general fund. And so I assume this is the general fund. And so that was, and I wanted a little bit more information because I just don't know how the funding streams work. Just on the parent paying side of things, right? What fund does that go into? Is that fund currently, stable, and then the excess goes to the general fund? I just don't know how that works.
Yeah, Pauline, did I see you?
Yeah, I can respond to that. Thanks for your question, Matt. So all of this would either benefit a restricted general fund or Fund 12, depending on which program they're actually working with. It will not impact the unrestricted general fund. That's why this proposal was in the section that was non-unrestricted general fund. So it was one of the areas that you required. It was a revenue generator, but not for the unrestricted general fund.
And the funds generated need to go back into the program with which the families reside. So this would be LEARNS. So it would go back into that funding.
Thank you, Jessica and Pauline, for responding. I also want to invite folks to this Friday's 2x2 committee meeting. I believe it's at 2 p.m. But after school programming, specifically after school programming funding, is one of the items on the agenda, and likely we'll have more time than we have now. So please come out if you can. It's not a hybrid meeting. It's in person only at the BUSD boardroom. Dan?
Yeah, I think you partially answered it, but I was curious about at what point is it too much for parents to keep paying this? And if there's a large waiting list, I guess that point is nowhere near reached. But it all seemed like all revenue. And then you started to talk about, well, we can expand, but then we're going to have more teachers. And so I just wanted to make sure the net was actually increasing.
Right.
But at the point that it's not part of the unrestricted general fund, I'm not even sure why I care at this point. I mean, it's just a more general comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. It's a good question. And, there's other implications, right? There's the staffing implication, facilities implication. So a lot will go into it, but it's definitely just an idea right now that we're looking into to see, what it could yield.
And Dan, we appreciate that you care right now, because sometimes you and everyone else ask good questions or make good points. I even see some good points coming up in the comments that just help us in our thinking and our iteration of this.
And I'm really happy I don't have a kid in the school district anymore that needs daycare.
Well, that's not what he means when he says that, y'all. He wishes that he still had kids in BUSD, but he's happy that anyway. Natasha, and then Steve. You're muted, Natasha. And now you've disappeared. Natasha? Okay, we'll come back. Natasha,
Hello,
there
do
you
you
go.
hear me now? There I am. Sorry, thank you. Well, I'm thinking about this from the perspective of someone who hopefully will have grandchildren in BUSD and with kids who are struggling to with these expenses. And I was wondering, with the additional tier idea, wondering if you have modeled that. What point? Because someone who's pulling in $8,000 a month sounds like a lot, but not if you're trying to rent something in Berkeley. And so, there are meanwhile plenty of people who have two incomes that are probably pulling in, twice that, 3 times that. So have you done the math, and do you know enough about the demographics of who's in the program that where that sweet spot would be, that you wouldn't have to increase on the people who are in that middle range?
Yeah. The highest tier right now, the proposal is over $12,000 a month. So that's one thing. And we are diving into the data for just that, to figure out how many of our families would qualify for that. Because when you enroll, you have to show proof of annual or monthly income. And so that's the next data set to look at. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah, hi. So I'm guessing or assuming that we're still not raising this extra money is not meant to save any of the coordinator positions that are being recommended to be eliminated. And then expanding the program, which is all great ideas, but I just have concerns about supervision on site, right? Because you basically have no on-site supervision, and you're looking to expand this program.
Yeah, on-site supervision is a must, so that will continue in various capacities. But that being said, the budget for these programs needs to be right-sized to begin with. And so it's one thing to expand, but it's also another another purpose that we need to have sustainable funding. So all of those together will allow increasing these fees will play into all of those components.
Vicky, and then hi, Frank. Vicky, and then Frank.
Yeah, so Steve, I wouldn't assume that this money couldn't be used to save the coordinators. I don't know if that was said. If the money has to go back into the program, it could be used to have the coordinators in place at the sites. But I'm confused on why any profit, I guess, that we make from it can't be used in the unrestricted fund. You don't have to go into a long answer, but if you could maybe send some sort of documentation that explains why it can't be put in the general fund, I would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Frank?
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, my concern is there a plan to staff this with permanent staffing from USD? Is this going to, if we're cutting positions, but we're raising prices? I agree with Dan and others. I understand why we're trying to generate more money, but if we don't have the staff for it. So I guess my big question is, how are we going to get rid of the contractors and bring back our own staffing that will save money? Is that part of a plan? And I think that would be very helpful than just raising prices and not having the staff to do it and hire more contractors, which got us in this mess in the first place. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is a priority of the program.
I was going to say, yeah, that is a priority. And I think for the two kind of big contracts or partnerships that we have with two contracting organizations that folks oftentimes speak of. Know that it was not our intent, nor is it our goal to staff our programs with contractors. It is oftentimes a reaction to the situation in terms of staffing or having folks available when we need them to do the work. That said, Frank, to your point, and actually in the spirit of some of the conversations that you and I have had with Ms. Mildred, we have been really intentional in starting to work with the Personnel Commission. Aaron in particular has been a great thought partner around how we can put just as much effort in the recruitment of the folks for these programs, which would definitely have a direct impact on our need for capacity and our need to contract with outside folks. And so we have been talking about hosting, and one of your ideas actually, hosting some type of job fair or event that can specifically focus on these positions that we oftentimes have unfilled, that then, have us then turn to contractors. And so a lot of ideas percolating around that, not just the event itself, but how do we make these positions more attractive? There's a number of reasons why they're not necessarily attractive for long-term. And so I'm definitely happy to engage you all in that conversation, not now, but definitely wanted to echo what Frank said, and that when we're thinking about things, we're thinking about things comprehensively. And that's why sometimes it's hard to provide updates in 1 hour and a half meetings, because these things are complex and have all these different factors and implications that we think about, but don't always have the means or the time to share out with you all. But I wanted to just say that is definitely a need and our goal. And I heard contractors come up actually earlier in our conversation, and I would say next meeting, but that's always hard because the next meeting is like tomorrow. We definitely want to talk about what those two big contractors are in particular that folks really talk about a lot, which oftentimes addresses the after school capacity issues as well as our special education capacity issues. And so we want to come back and share with you all what those look like, why they exist, and like I just said, some of our plans to offset that, because we too see it as an issue. And to the point that I heard one of the commenters make, we know that contractors oftentimes, because they are typically used when districts or organizations are in a bind, they are oftentimes more expensive than hiring your own staff. And we love people, but we like our own people more. And so that is definitely a goal in all of these plans and efforts. Matt, I'm gonna let you have the final word on the after school, and I'm gonna remind folks that I'm gonna let you have the final word first, and I'll remind folks. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So sometimes I just get a little lost. I'm trying to remember the problem we're trying to solve, because with every slide, it feels a little different. And I think we all understand the general fund problem we're trying to solve. It's called 7.6 million. Now, where I'm getting confused, and I think it might be helpful, is now we're talking about restricted funds. I want to know a couple of things. One, is this fund underwater, right? Is that the problem we're trying to solve for this fund specifically? Then I think this is all kind of tied together. I just haven't pieced it together. The idea of reorganizing the after school program, what are we trying to solve with that? Like, what's the rationale? I still am having a really hard time, because it's just been kind of said, oh, this saves money, but why? Because I'm trying to understand the trade-offs. And then that goes into the next piece, which is like, oh, and then we can make money, right, by charging more. Okay, well, if the budget's underwater, then the money goes there. How much underwater is the budget? And is that the right amount to raise based on how underwater that budget is? Or if you bring it back from contractors back to staff, how much money is all connected, right? So I just want to bring us back to, and I guess it's a little higher level, because now we're in this after school conversation, but I don't understand exactly why. And I would just love to know that, like, explicitly. Thanks.
We're trying to solve all types of problems, Matt Meyer. But you are right, because and to be fair, after school or charging for after school actually did come up from one of the SBAC proposals from committee members. And so we brought it to this group just because it came up from this group. Very clearly that in most cases, the dollars that are generated are not going to be dollars that impact the general funds, which is the purview of this group. So that's in part of why it's come to this group. It's also going to the board this evening to be discussed, and been a topic of interest for many folks who are on this committee. Jessica, I don't know if you can or want to in 3 minutes kind of give the problems that we are trying to solve for, not so much the staffing piece of it, but even why are we even thinking about charging, and if the fund is underwater.
Yeah, thank you. So we're not underwater. No, we're not operating in the red, but it is not currently in a sustainable, the landscape is not sustainable. So we do need to generate money in this area, and we want to be able to be in a position where we can expand the program and offer the highest quality after school program. And so in order to do that, we need to, pay, right? And so this will allow for all of those pieces. It's not going to solve everything model by any stretch of the imagination. It's just one way in which parents are already paying, and a slight increase might assist the district, and for sure could support the after school program.
Thank you. Lots of stuff in the chat. We see it. I'm going to make sure Pauline's ready. We're going to go back, Miss Pauline. We're going to go back. Sorry, we're going to go to the next slide because we are going to ask folks to do the straw poll. This is going to be a short straw poll because just thinking about and hearing the conversations and the feedback that's been provided already, and knowing that what is on phase 4, there's a number of things that are on phase 4, inclusive of the counselors, inclusive of the admin restructure at high school, inclusive of revenue generators, specifically the after school program that folks want more information about. So I anticipate y'all can do this one really quickly and have a lot of undecideds or need more information, but I'm going to pause and let Pauline and Emily do their thing to make sure that our members are ready to vote for the things that they are ready to vote for or advance.
Thanks, Anika. That should say phase 4. I think we have the wrong slide. Anyway, so we're voting on phase 4 for clarity, and we need to do. Do we need to do a roll call, or is there a more efficient way? Yes, Rebecca.
I'm just wondering, if we don't have that information, is it worth our time to re-vote again because we're still waiting on that?
No, wait, no. That I'm asking you to vote on phase 4. This slide is incorrect.
Okay,
so it's
sorry.
If Vivian refreshes, you'll see the correct slide. Ms. Rebecca, sorry about that. You are right, Pauline. It should say 4. It now says 4.
Okay, so we refresh. Oh. Okay, all right. So do we need to do roll call quickly? Just to kind of
You have to go out of the screen, Ms. Vivian, and refresh, and then take it back to this slide 61.
That's what I'm going to stop presenting.
We are going to need to do a roll call because remember that Emily needs to know who to send it to. And sometimes we have alternates here that are voting in lieu of the folks who are the regular members. And so if we could, once Ms. Vivian's ready, if we could, actually, Miss Emily, is Emily here?
Yeah.
Emily.
I'm here. I can run through it.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been compiling a list based on who I've been seeing in the meeting. So I'll just read out who I have down as the voting members for each committee. And if I'm wrong, please just let me know. PTA, I have Rita.
Yep, I'm here.
P&O, I have Vicky and Nicole.
Correct.
Yep. PAC, I have Jesse.
That's right.
Audit, I have Dan.
Yes.
Anyone from Berkeley High School Development Group? Superintendent appointee, I have Natasha and Beatrice.
Yes.
I don't have anyone here from DLAC.
Can I ask everyone to please mute their phones unless they're noting their attendance?
I have Rebecca from GShack. Is that right, Rebecca Levinson?
She's here.
Okay, thank you, Vicky.
I am.
AASAC, I don't believe I have anybody. BFT, I have Lisa, Sarah, and Matt.
Yes.
As the voting members. BCCE, I have Frank, Mildred, and Sean as the voting members.
Emily, can you please take me out and put in Yazzie? This is Frank.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will update that.
I'm here.
Thank you. So I have Yazid, Mildred, and Sean for BCCE voting. Local 21, I have Stephen, and Yuba, I have Renee. Anyone think they're voting members and not hear their name? Speak now. Otherwise, I will send this out to those folks. Great. I will paste this in. All right. I have just sent it. If you have an email that's on a delay, you might want to refresh it, but everyone who I called should now be getting it. As an email, Rebecca, I will email it to you as an email attachment, unless you have a Gmail I can use.
My email address is a Gmail address. It's just my name. So it's Rebecca Levinson, but it's a Gmail account.
So at RebeccaLevinson.com seems to be tripping up Google Forms and not working.
Well, it's a Google account. But let's go ahead and we can't figure it out right now. So go ahead and you can send it to me the other way.
Rebecca, we always seem to have an issue with getting you the, remember it happened last time too. Sorry about that.
Rebecca, are you able to access the shared drive? You are?
Why don't you resend me the link there and in the chat, and I'll just do it there. Maybe that's the way to do it.
No, this is different. The shared drive for SBAC.
If you sent me the shared drive for SBAC, could you send me the link?
Okay, I'll check on that because I was going to say if you are able to access that, then there's something else going on. But thanks.
I haven't gotten it yet, but I think others have.
Is this being emailed out? Sorry, I cut out for a minute.
Yes, Emily's sending it to all voting participants via email. So we'll see what's going on because I see another person, Sarah, in the comments said that in the chat said that they didn't receive it either. So when it's Rebecca saying it, we're like, we know. But when other people say it, we're like, maybe it's a problem on our end. So let's have Emily check it out. It is 5:05. So perhaps what we'll do is, if you all don't mind, we'll move on to the March 15th updates and then vote. You got it, Rebecca?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it's that
Sarah?
I had your last name spelled wrong. Apologies, Rebecca. I think we've not had it.
Becky got it too. Steve, did you get it? Sarah, did you get it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm wondering if she added an H, maybe.
No H, Emily.
No H.
I did not. I did. It should be this. It's the exact same email I used the last time I sent it to you. It looks like. Sarah.
So I realize that some folks have received it and others are waiting to receive it. Just in the interest of time, I will let Emily continue to work with you all and send it to you. And if you received it, please, you can take your time and vote over the next couple minutes and submit it at the end. But we will not show results, of course, to the next one. So even if you just need some time to think about it, you can definitely get it to Emily. But we do ask that you get it to her this evening so that we can know who we need to follow up on with. I'm sorry, who we need to follow up with. I believe that just as we did last time, it also has a section for you to request more information. Is that accurate, Emily? Same as the last poll where they could kind of there's a box for them to tell us what more they want. Emily's multitasking.
I believe that's the case. Pauline, can you confirm?
Sarah, we got it. Perfect.
It's required. You can't end it without answering that.
Thank you, Dan.
I mean, if you were undecided about something.
You're undecided. Beatrice still hasn't received it. So Emily, keep working with folks. You guys use the chat and let Emily know if you haven't received it. Again, if you have received it, go ahead and fill it out. I am going to ask, because it's 5:07, that Ms. Vivian just advance to slide 67. We want to just do a brief update on our reductions in force because we were not able to make that update at the last meeting. While she's doing that, in between the last slide that you saw and the reduction in force slides, we do have your request for information recorded, and those are both the requests that you've made as a result of phase 3, as a result of phase 2, and some of those things that we tabled in phase 1. and said we come back. My hope is that our next meeting, again, we won't have to spend our time trying to straw poll or think about new proposals, but we actually can spend time now answering questions and clarifying those outstanding things from the previous proposals in phases 1 through 4. So again, Pauline has shared how far we've gotten with our roadmap, inclusive of phase 4, and we will just pause with new ideas and bring back to you the information that you've been asking for over the last couple of meetings. And that way we'll have an hour and a half to really dig into those things. Nicole, question or comment?
Yes, I don't mean to interrupt you as you're on the flow, but I would, related to that, since at the next meeting we'll have a chance to like dig into some of the ones that we've been wondering about. Is it possible to, I know there's a lot of I'm sure you're gathering a lot of documents from the organizations and things like that. Is it possible to put those into a shared drive and share those documents with us in advance of the meeting so we could read them and then come prepared with that raw understanding? We do that for P&O and expect our members to read in advance, and we do our best. Super helpful.
We would do our best as well. Yes. Thank you for that, Nicole. Okay. So, Emily's still kind of monitoring the chat, so please deal with the voting with her via that means. I'm going to go ahead and provide this update for reduction in force ache, also known as March 15th notices. Next slide. Just reminding you all of why that is relevant for our conversation as SBAC is because there is a very tight relationship between our staffing, our budget timeline, and the timeline that we are required to adhere to with notifying staff of potential layoff or change in job or job assignment. And so this visual is just a reminder that those timelines are not at all in sync. Welcome to education, that we have a budget timeline that typically starts in January with our governor giving us the proposed budget, in May getting a revise, and then in July actually getting that state budget enacted. And so you can see there's several months between when we get a proposed budget and when we have what might be a revised budget between January and May. In between that time, all of us are meeting and trying to make some decisions, some very important decisions regarding our budget. And so knowing a lot of this is tentative. One of the things that we're going to do as SBAC with the proposals that you have advanced is come back and then tier those proposals and say, if the governor comes back with this amount, or if we get the full or the entirety of the state grant, or if we get a part of the state grant, what do we want to prioritize and how do we want to make reductions accordingly? So just know that we are very clear of the ways in which our budget is unclear, and there's a lot of information pending in terms of revenues and the governor's May revise and final budget. And so we'll be engaging you in a process, if you will, to be sure that we're able to respond to that accordingly. At the same time, while that is happening, because we cannot, and it would be irresponsible to notify our team members, our Berkeley family, our staff, that they will no longer have a position or that their position might be changed or reduced. We don't want to wait till June. So the law actually says that we can't wait until June. And there's a law that actually requires us to notify employees of the possibility of it by March 15th and provide them final notice by May 15th. And that has been around for some time for certificated staff. And it's rather new. I think it's the last 2 years for classified staff who are also deserving of that notification. For those of you all who are in other industry, you know that many other organizations and workplaces give you 2 weeks notice or 30 days notice. And we think that's insufficient, and we agree with the law. Similarly, not required by law, but for our contracts with some of our labor partners says that our teachers on special assignment need to be notified as well because it's complicated. I've shared this with you all before, so I'm going really quickly. But so we've included them in the March 15th as well. And so with that, I want to remind you all that we did give out a number of March 15th notices, and some of those were about reassignments. Many of those for our BFT partners were for reassignment, and then others were for potential layoff or reduction in services. We also noticed not just folks who were in our classified or certificated labor unions, but also our what we call unrepresented staff as well. Next slide. There's oftentimes a lot of questions around the breakdown of our employees. Everybody is family, but this slide is a new slide. We actually presented this slide either at this last meeting, I believe maybe at the board meeting. I'm sorry, there's been many slides, but this gives you the breakdown of the percent of our staffing that falls into which category. How much are site-based administrators, how much are site-based TSAs, et cetera. So that information is here for you. I think some of you all asked it at a previous meeting. So wanted to make sure I highlight that. In terms of the notices themselves, next slide, Ms. Vivian, just again, as a recap, and a actually more detailed and I think more probably visually clear recap, we did notice 182 classified employees. And of those 182, all of those were notifications of possible reduction or elimination. Remember that for classified staff, that is essentially the only option. It is often because of lack of work or lack of funds. And so for those 182 that were noticed, they were specifically for possible reductions and or eliminations, and addressed or were sent to folks in our BCCE union, as well as Local 21, as well as unrepresented staff members. We distributed 191 certificated March 15th notices or reduction in force notices. The breakdown of those is in that second tier or line, if you will. We had 36 folks who received those notices who were temporary or non-reelects. Those who are temporary, remember, are notified and are aware of their end date, their contract end date, when they start. Of that 191, 133 were notifications of reassignment. So not notifications of reduction, elimination, or layoff, but of reassignment. You might be somewhere else. Those notices were given to folks who were in BFT, UBA, as well as, again, unrepresented staff members. And then 22 of that 191 were for specific particular kinds of service, or PKS. And we shared what those mean at a previous SBAC and in a more detailed way at our board presentation that can be found on our BUSD business webpage. Want to remind you also that we talk about FTE, or full-time equivalent, and that is not the same as people. And so we gave you some examples at a previous meeting how, 3 FTE could actually be 5 people. And so some people are like, why did so many people get noticed? Is because they make up FTE, and we assigned, we gave out these notices based on FTE, not based on individual people per se. So wanted to provide you an update. We said at our meeting here, as well as the meeting presentation to the board, next slide, please, Ms. Vivian, that we are committed to rescinding as many notices as possible, as soon as possible. And so as of today, this is our update for you. For that 182, for the 182 classified March 15th notices that were sent out, 103 have been rescinded or will be rescinded by the end of this week.
Amika, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have good news. We actually got more of our checks in from the PTA, and we have another 9 positions that are being rescinded tomorrow morning.
So of the 182, 112. See, I took math. 112 of the classifieds have been rescinded. I will update the slide right now. So those of you who have it, you will get a live update. 112 of 182 have been rescinded. And then of the 22 particular kinds of services for our certificated staff, 13 of those have been rescinded. Sam, since you put yourself on the spot, can you just really quickly remind our committee members of the number for certificated? The total number is 191, but here we're only showing the 22 PKSs. Can you just give a quick explanation, please?
So the other types of notices that our certificated get, the temp release, the probe release, or non-reelection, and the reassignments don't get rescinded. Those people, if we rehire them for the next year, get a new contract or a new assignment. And so they everybody who gets a reassignment letter still has a job. We just have to find out where in the district that's going to be. And then for the others who get the temp releases, we just need to find them a new location if they're asked to come back. Yep, you're muted.
Thank you, Sam. We've said several times as we've talked about our strategies for moving towards a balanced budget, that, you know, what our priorities is to make sure that we don't get to that we really avoid that bottom tier as much as possible, which is the consolidation and reduction of positions and programs. It doesn't mean we can completely avoid it, but again, that is one of the last strategies that we want to implement as we try to balance our budget. And again, we are required by March 15th to give these notices. So we are happy to be able to report to you the progress that we've made in rescinding so many notices and being consistent with what we say, again, is important for us as we prioritize budget balancing. Really quickly for you all, before I let Pauline and Emily come back to make sure everybody's been able to vote and to do some closing moves. I want to let you know, next slide, please, Ms. Vivian, that the next 3 slides, 72, gives you can click again, Ms. Vivian, please, gives you an update on positions that have been rescinded, because the numbers mean nothing. These are people and people that we know and positions that many of you all are directly impacted by. So this shows you the rescissions that were given as of 4/16 to specific positions. Again, there's that example there of how 45 school campus aides were noticed, but that only totals 11.77 FTE. Next slide, please. On this next slide, again, it's a similar update. Go ahead and click, Ms. Vivian. This update shows you the rescissions as of 4/23. And if you click again, Ms. Vivian, what you will see is that the ones that are circled, the 0.77 school service assistants, the instructional specialists for dance, and the instructional specialists for drama were able to be rescinded because these were on what we call soft dollars. And so we received confirmation from the PTAs that were funding these positions that they will continue to fund these positions, and we received the funding for them. So just wanted to make that connection between what we talk about in terms of soft dollars and the ways that they impact, these decisions impact our ability to rescind. Next slide. This last list, click again, Ms. Vivian, are the positions by title that were rescinded as of yesterday, as of 4/29. And again, those ones that are circled are ones that are on soft dollars. So I actually should read this one out because this was a topic of much discussion, not just during this year's SBAC, but last year's as well, our cooking and gardening position. So if you notice, we have 2.03 FTE instructional specialists for cooking and gardening. We have 8.34 FTE instructional specialists for gardening specifically, 7.73 IT for cooking, and then another nutrition education program supervisor. They were able to secure, a lot of hard work, a grant from the city. And that grant is in the amount of $905,000 to span 2 years, I believe. And so again, an example of how soft dollars matter, and being able to confirm those dollars are very helpful. And so because of that grant from the city, thank you for everyone who wrote that grant, who was a part of that grant. And of course, thank you to our cooking and gardening team for all that they do for our babies every week and every day. Because of that, we were able to rescind those ones in particular. So I wanted to call that out as well. So those are our rescissions. You just heard Sam say it was another 9. And so those 9 are not listed here, but they will be added to the list and shared with you all at our next SBAC. So that work will continue, and we know we still have more to do and to think about. And we will continue to keep you updated on that with regard to the March 15th reduction in force. Are you seeing schools with their, sorry, I'm trying to read your comment, Ms. Beatrice, but it just went away. Can you just say it, Ms. Beatrice?
Yeah, well, some of these positions that you shared are great, are being supported by our PTAs. But what about the schools who have more free and reduced students who are not able to fund these kinds of positions? Are you seeing some inequity, in terms of PTA raising funds for their schools, positions that they like in art, dance, etc.?
Ms. Beatrice, I want to look into that a little bit more closely. What I will say to you is the general answer is yes. Despite a lot of work that we know our PTAs are doing, and inevitably there is still some level of inequity, right? Because some PTAs are able to raise more dollars than other PTAs, and of course that impacts the school and the school experience. That said, I don't have enough data right now in the moment to be able to say if there's inequity in terms of some schools having certain positions that other schools don't have. Some schools having access to dance and others not. And so I would like to have some time to look into that, to answer that question more accurately. But I will say that, more in the general terms, inevitably, because there's different levels of funding, there's different and more that can be done for some sites than others. But I do know, and if Ms. Rita, you can chime in if you like, our PTA leadership has been very thoughtful and intentional about that, and been having conversations around how they can continue to raise money, but raise money in ways that are thinking about equity and thinking about coherence and consistency of experience across all of our schools.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something the school board and the superintendent and staff should be aware of in terms of what's happening. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions about the reduction in fourth March 15th? Rita, go ahead, Rita.
I feel like in the back of my head, what I'm thinking is that is like its own 1.5 to 2 hour discussion. That is so much more complicated than I had anticipated when I became a PTA member at the PTA Council. But I'd be happy to have some, Di and I have access to some data. It's from a couple of years ago where we looked at PTA fundraising across schools. And we'd be happy to take a look at that with whoever wants to look at it with us.
Rita, can you let them know your position, please?
Oh, I'm president of PTA Council.
Thank you, Rita. And I was accurate, Rita, just to highlight that has been a topic of intention and focus with the PTA, not just this year, but even in previous years. And I think there's been a lot of work and traction towards the end that I know we're all trying to strive towards, Ms. Beatrice, but there's still definitely work to do, because some of that's about mindset. But as she said, that's a whole nother meeting. So Sam, there was a question in the chat that Sam received and Sam responded to, and my chat is not working, but I just want to call you all's attention to it. If you didn't see it, it was a question about OFI specialists. And so that response is there. So we have 6 minutes left. Again, I'm clear on the information that folks want for us to focus on at our next meeting. I do want to invite you all to our board meeting tonight. In fact, our closed session starts in exactly 26 minutes, but our open session starts at 7 p.m. We are going to be doing another budget update, and in that budget update, going to be sharing these phases, not line by line, but just making sure that our public and our board is aware of the conversations we've been having here, have an idea of some of the things that are being advanced and considered, and look at those revenue generators as well as the March 15th update, the one that you actually just received. We also are going to be doing a presentation on PE, if folks are interested in that, and then also another presentation on, my brain just blanked, the third presentation. Oh, we're going to just blank. Oh, the TWI curriculum. Sorry, our two-way immersion curriculum. So come out if you want to hear more about the budget or those other items. And then again, 2x2. Those are the meetings that we have in partnership and collaboration with the City of Berkeley. So we have 2 board members on 2x2 and then 2 City Council people on 2x2. And we discuss topics and issues that require us to collaborate as city and district. And so that meeting will be on this Friday. Again, that one is not hybrid. It's in person only in our boardroom at, I believe, 2 p.m. And again, on that agenda is the after school program, with a specific ask for us to give an update on after school funding. And so that was a conversation here. You can get some more information at that meeting, as well as the fee schedule. And so if you are interested, please come out. When is the board meeting posted to watch? That is a good question, Vicki. I will find out right now. I'm usually in the board meeting, so I never know when it gets posted. I believe it's the next day, but let me see. 2x2s are not recorded, Vicki. Not typically recorded, no. But I will find out when the board meetings are posted. I believe it's the next day, because he gives me a little CD, old school CD. And it's on YouTube, so maybe it is live. Let me find out for you. Any other questions before we close?
Are we meeting next week?
Next slide, please. One more. There we go. So our next meeting is actually on May 7th. We agreed to have that additional meeting. And I think I appreciate you all's time, because I know it is your time. But I think it will be good for us to meet and kind of pause again from having more phases to like really being able to think about those outstanding questions and areas of clarification that you all have requested. So next meeting is on the 7th. That's also a board meeting night again. So we will be ending at 5:30. And again, we want to really start to think about, that's not true what that says. We want to start thinking about clarifying the areas of interest. And then on May 14th, we want to start thinking about ranking and tiering the proposals that you've already advanced. and having you vote on those things or do a straw poll on the things that you haven't. And we'll make sure that you have a calendar invite if you don't. And that's it. If there's no more questions.
Nikia, can I mention the shared drive that Nicole was talking about?
Please.
There's been a shared drive. Some of you seasoned members will still have access, and I've added the new members. So if you go to your Google Drive and look at shared drives, you should see that you have access to an SBAC shared drive, and it has all the historical information, and you can add things to that for the members, like the presentations that Miss Betty wanted to share will be in there, and other things that people want to send for you guys to review will be in the shared drive. So I'll go through that again and make sure everyone has access. And Jessica, I'll make sure that you have editor access so you can add your documents. And if anyone else has any problems accessing, let me know. And if you need editor access so you can add documents, let me know.
Go ahead and click Ms. Vivian, because that's perfect. I'm glad that you brought that up. We have a slide there every SBAC, but we never say it. So yes, thank you for that reminder. There's that shared drive. I want to also remind you all that in these decks, we have an appendix, and that's for the public as well, that has different definitions and a little bit of the previous, some of the previous slides. Next slide, please, Ms. Vivian. But what's also in these decks every time is we actually link the presentations from the previous meetings. And this is, again, also available on our SBAC website. So we're trying to think about as many places we can put information so no one can say they didn't get it, they couldn't find it, they didn't have it. All right. So with that, who's coming to the board meeting? Yay. That's how I feel too. Okay, so the board meeting, again, it starts at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you there. If you're not physically there, it is online live.
I'm coming.
Ms. Mildred, you always come. So thank you. We're
Be
glad
there or be square.
Be there or be square. It's a party. And then, so it's live, Vicky, and then I believe it's the next day. But again, I will find that out for you and get you that information. Woo!
BTA is presenting. Come out and listen. Woohoo!
Woo-hoo. Have a good night, y'all. Appreciate you all and all your time. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
BTA. Bye.
Can I ask you a really quick question? When we do our next, this is Rita.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally I would love to talk PTA budget sometime with literally anyone who will listen. But when we, because that's my favorite topic, and we are not actually collecting data, or we're not reviewing data this year. But when we do our next like raise hands kind of voting, can I not go first? Because there's a few people that I look for what the way they vote.
Well, first of all,
and now the 7 other people who are still in this meeting know that. But like,
I was gonna say,
it helps me.
First of all, you just told on yourself.
I totally
did. Second of all, remember we do the Google.
I'm
vote.
leaving. See you guys in a minute. Goodbye.
We do the Google vote now, but I hear you. So
I thought we had to do a live one as well. I thought there had to be.
We moved it to Google.
Okay.
Do that form is because folks felt a little bit of anxiety, didn't always want their vote publicly seen, but also there was this influence that was happening. So that was the request of the folks who were on the committee.
I thought Google was only for the straw poll, so we're doing the official vote
So
on
when we
Google.
get to the final vote, we will have a process to do it that still takes into consideration those concerns. But right now, Ms. Rita don't have to worry because there's no thumbs right now.
Right. No,
but
but
when
like
we get there, I'm gonna keep
I
you in
need to
mind.
watch Vicky, and I need to watch Mr. Molina, and I need to like I have people that I need to watch Nicole and Rebecca. Like I need to see.
Rita, stop calling out the names.
Sorry, but they're the people I look at because I know them.
Bye, you guys. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Have a good
See
night.
you in a minute, Miss Mildred. Miss Mildred, what you want? I'm gonna see you in a minute.
I thought you told me to come back or something. I did my Google form.
I didn't say to come back, but I'm so happy that you're here.
Oh my God. Okay, bye.
Bye.
See, she didn't even want me.
Bye, Paula. Bye, Gigi.